Pretty thought-provoking article here on Common Dreams by Medea Benjamin and Zoltan Grossman. 10 reasons why defunding police should lead to defunding war. Completely support both. Defund the police, defund the military-industrial complex. They both cause completely unnecessary harm and suffering. The police in the United States and military-industrial complex, both here and abroad, with a massive amount of money and resources that they both get. For example, the U.S. military's budget is bigger than the next 10 countries combined, yet we don't have universal health care, we don't have tuition-free higher education, we don't have a Green New Deal. All of these things, a crumbly infrastructure. We need a green, all of these things. So here are some of the reasons. The U.S. killed people of color at home and abroad. The U.S. is founded on the ideology of white supremacy. It's completely true. From the genocide against Native Americans to upholding the system of slavery, U.S. police kill about 1,000 people per year, disproportionate in the black community and other communities of color. Foreign policy similarly based on the white superiority derived concept of American exceptionalism. Completely right. Tandem with European partners. If you want to bomb or invade a foreign country filled with black or brown people, as the United States military so often does, you have to first demonize those people, dehumanize them, suggest they're just backwards people in need of saving, or savage people in need of killing, said journalist Mehdi Hassan. Hundreds of thousands of black and brown people around the world, and the denial of the rights to national self-determination. Perfect. Just as the U.S. was created by taking over the lands of indigenous peoples by force, so America as an empire uses war to expand access to markets and resources. Again, it's not about bringing freedom and democracy. That's a crock. If you believe that, you're just doing propaganda for the U.S. government, for God's sake. Come on. Yep. Internally plagued by racism, and that's completely true. Origins of the U.S. police and all-white slave patrols. It's no accident that hiring and promotion within police departments have historically favored whites and officers of color around the country to continue to sue their departments for discriminatory practices. Today, people of color are pursued to fill the bottom ranks, but not top positions. That's why about 43% of the 1.3 million men and women on active duty are people of color. Native Americans serve in the armed forces at 5 times the national average, but the upper echelons in the military remain almost exclusively a white boys club. Of the 41 senior commanders, only 2 are black, and only 1 is a woman. Kind of surprising, given that disproportionality. Not surprising, but you see the disproportionality. Under Trump, racism is on a rise. 2019 survey found that 53% of service members of color said they had seen examples of white nationalism or ideologically driven racism among their fellow troops, a number up significantly from the fall. Far-right militias have attempted to infiltrate the military and collude with police. I wouldn't say I've attempted, I would say that's probably already happened for sure. And then the excess, the more funding we give to the military, the more that weapons of war have been given to police departments, and we see that during this protest all across the country. It's disgusting. U.S. interventions abroad, especially the war on terror, erode our civil liberties at home. We saw that with the Patriot Act. Black Lives Matter protesters have recently seen these eyes in the sky. I'm assuming that's drones, right? Yep, super drones. Yep. Spying on anti-war activists, etc. The xenophobia and Islamophobia at the heart of the war on terror has fed hatred of immigrants and Muslims at home. It's even added more fuel to the fire having Trump as president, for sure. Militarization of the U.S.-Mexico border. All of the xenophobia and Islamophobia around the war on terror, for sure. Yep. This is super important and something I alluded to earlier. Excuse me. I'm really sleepy. Both the military and the police suck up enormous amounts of taxpayer dollars that should be used for building a just, sustainable, and equitable society. Police budgets account for an astronomical percentage of cities' discretionary funds compared to other crucial community programs, ranging from 20 to 45% of discretionary funding in major metropolitan areas. Per capita police spending in the city of Baltimore for 2020 is an astounding $904 million. Imagine what every resident could do with that 904. Wait. Yeah, $1,000 a year in your pocket. So per capita population, let's just do that. Population of Baltimore. We'll do a quick little, then we'll get their budget. Calculator. Boom. 904 times 619 times 493. Well, that can't be right, can it? 619. Wait, no. 904 times 619. $560 million, give or take. It's not much higher than the Seattle city budget, which is $400 million. Thankfully, we have a veto-proof majority in the city council, who's now come out and said they support defunding the Seattle police 50%. Nationwide, the U.S. spends more than twice as much on law and order as it does in cash welfare programs. Trend has been widening since the 1980s. Thanks, Reagan. The same pattern is true with the Pentagon budget. The 2020 military budget was $738 billion, larger, like I said, larger than the next 10 countries combined. Washington Post reported that the U.S. spent the same proportion of its GDP on its military as most European countries do. It could fund a universal child care policy, extend health insurance to approximately 30 million people who lack it, or provide substantial investments in repairing the nation's infrastructure. 800 overseas military bases would save, closing those would save $100 billion a year. It's just freaking ridiculous. And it's not making us any safer. The only thing it's doing is padding the bottom lines of, these war profiteer corporations like Boeing, Lockheed Martin, General Dynamics, Raytheon, etc. Oppressive techniques used abroad come home. We see that with, some of these police stations. I believe it was the chief, Seattle Police Department's chief, Carmen Best, who went and learned from the Israeli Defense Forces. War on drugs, horrible. So definitely some pretty good reasons. Excuse me. Yeah, definitely support defunding the police, working towards abolishing that. Same with the military as well. I mean, why the hell would we need 800 military bases abroad, and why the fuck would we need to spend more than the next 10 countries combined on our military when our country is a failed state in so many ways? It's just ridiculous. Priorities completely out of whack. Peace, not war.